Hi, Harvey Bloodline. This week on the Harvey Bloodline channel, we are talking about if we were famous, what would we be famous for? Well, that's easy. Actually, I don't really want to be famous. If you see what Hollywood and the media has done to people who are famous, I don't know if I want to live that kind of life. But if I was going to be famous, I would want it to be famous because I am a writer. I want to be an author. And I've written a couple of things, and I thought I would read them to you so you can kind of judge for yourself. All right, one of the things that I've written is a children's story called Mr. Smith's Fish. And Mr. Piggly Wiggly is actually going to help me read it. Mr. Piggly, are you ready?
Yes, Jenny, I'm ready to help you read the story.
All right, here it is right here.
I know it already.
Okay, we'll just let him read it. Mr. Smith.
No, I want to read it.
No, I think I better read it. I have a better voice than you do.
Jenny.
I'm going to read it. You can watch. Mr. Smith was sad. Mr. Smith was lonely. Every morning, Mr. Smith got out his little bed, ate his little breakfast at his little table, and went to his little shop to work. Every evening, Mr. Smith came home to his little house, ate his little supper at his little table, and then went to bed in his little bed. One morning, Mr. Smith said to himself, "I think I'll get a pet." He said, "Maybe I'll get a big dog." No, a big dog wouldn't be good. "Maybe I'll get a cat." No, a cat wouldn't be good. "Maybe I'll get a bird." No, a bird wouldn't be good. I know. "I'll get a little fish."
You don't want a little fish. You want a pig.
No, I don't want a pig. He doesn't want a pig. Piggly Wiggly.
Yes, a pig, a pig.
Quiet and let me finish reading. After work, Mr. Smith went to the pet store and purchased a little fish. He brought it home and put it in a little bowl. Stop that. Every day, Mr. Smith fed his fish. He loved his fish. One morning, Mr. Smith fed his fish and saw that his little fish was too big for his little bowl. He put him in a bigger bowl. Every day, Mr. Smith fed his fish. He loved his fish. One day, Mr. Smith fed his fish and saw that his bigger fish was too big for the bigger bowl. Mr. Smith put his even bigger fish in his bathtub. Mr. Smith fed his fish. He loved his fish. One day, Mr. Smith fed his fish and saw that his even bigger fish was too big for his bathtub. He put his even bigger fish in his swimming pool. Every day, Mr. Smith fed his fish. He loved his fish. One day, Mr. Smith fed his fish and saw that his fish was now the biggest fish. Mr. Smith made a phone call. Some men came and took Mr. Smith's fish to an aquarium where he could swim and play. And every day, Mr. Smith went and fed his fish. He loved his fish. One day, while eating his little breakfast at his little table, Mr. Smith had an idea. "I think I'll get a pet." The end. What did you think?
Good story, but he should have got a pig.
I actually finished, and I'm in my second rough draft, or third rough draft. It's called The Golden Bow. And I used to make up stories to the kids when they were little. And I made this one up, and I used to make up stories when the kids were little, and this is one of the stories that I told them, except I've made it longer. So I'm just going to read you a little bit of it, and you can see what you think. It's called The Golden Bow. Chapter 1. Flames danced in the fireplace, casting a warm glow around the small stone room. On the hearth rug, a large tiger cat sprawled, warming his immense stomach. It was quiet except for the occasional hiss and pop of a pine log fighting for life in the fireplace. The room was snug and close. There were the necessary furnishings for an old woman: a soft bed covered in an old quilt, a table, a few chairs, some shelves with books worn with finger rings. There was a rocking chair before the fire and an iron pot on a swing arm ready for the next meal. Odd spices hung from the ceiling. They gave the air a slight scent that reminded you of a walk through fall leaves. A wind was stirred outside, and a shadow passed one of the windows. The latch lifted gently, and a short old woman entered. "Well, Harvey, I've seen you've been busy while I was away," she said in a rough but cheery voice. Harvey rolled over and lifted his head curiously, then lowered it again, closing his eyes. The old woman laughed and put her large basket down on the table. She'd been out all day gathering what looked like weeds to the unskilled eye, but to her they were the essence of things to come. She took off her roughly knitted shawl, laid it over a chair, then set about lighting a lantern. Carefully she separated the greens she'd gathered and tied the ends with string. She hung them one by one upon the rafters, creating a canopy of green. When she finished, she went to the mantel and pulled down a long, slender pipe and a box. Sitting herself in the rocking chair, she opened the box and pulled out a pinch of sweet-smelling tobacco. Harvey opened his eyes, pricked his ears, and waddled over to her. She took a pinch more and held it out to him. Harvey ate it happily and stared for more, but she closed the box. "No, no, Harvey, just a pinch is all for now," she said. Harvey lumbered back to his spot on the rug and laid back down. Striking a match, the old woman lit her pipe, sending ghost-like wisps above her head. She sat back and slowly rocked. The glow of the fire cast long shadows on her dark, weathered face and slight red hues in her crown of white hair. Her eyes closed as the wind built outside, and tree limbs bent and creaked. A thick mist formed before her, but the old woman was not afraid. She had been in this place many times. She waited patiently until the mist began to thin. Her eyes searched for images, and a young man's face appeared. He looked tired and hungry. His eyes were searching, and his hands groped for something. His clothes looked well worn, and his brown hair tousled. His figure faded, and another image appeared. It was half of a wooden medallion. There was something carved on it, but she couldn't see what it was. As this image faded away, a long white dress came into view. The dress seemed similar somehow, familiar somehow. The dress seemed familiar somehow, and she reached out to it, but it clouded over before she could touch it. Her eyes opened, and she stared into the fire which had burnt down to quiet coals. Harvey was now curled in her lap. The wind was still blowing outside. She picked up Harvey and stood. Annoyed that his bed had moved, he jumped down and resettled on the hearth rug. The old woman soon had the fire built up again, and she began humming softly to herself. Reaching up, she pulled down 3 of her drying bundles of herbs. She got a bowl from the shelf and poured water into it. She then picked the dried buds off one bundle, stripped the leaves from another, and put them in the bowl. She watched for a few minutes and took the 3rd bundle and put it in the kettle on the fire. She looked in the bowl and mumbled something under her breath. She passed her hand over the pieces of herbs, and they began to move. She watched and smiled. She then took the bowl and poured it into the pot simmering over the fire. After stirring in vegetables, she sat back down in the rocking chair and smiled. She looked over at Harvey and said softly, "We have a visitor coming, Harvey." And that's the end of chapter 1. Now, that's what I would be if I was rich. I'd be a writer. Maybe someday I will be a famous writer. I don't know. I think if I was rich and famous, my life wouldn't change very much. I'd probably live in a nicer home, and I definitely would not be a lunch lady. at the high school anymore because I'd be writing a lot more. And I would not let my husband quit his job.
The end.